Hey Focus fans, it's Alex Wehrley. This week we are talking about how pageants empower. And to join me in the discussion, I have Kristen Dalton Wolfe, Miss USA 2009 and the creator of SheIsMore.com, and Brittany Bell, the reigning Miss Guam. I'm so excited you ladies are here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, you bet. If you guys didn't know, I was Miss Wisconsin in 2009 and also co-hosted Miss USA last year, so I'm a huge pageant fan, as are you ladies, obviously a given. A lot of people only have the exposure to pageants that they see on this 2-hour telecast, or is it 3 hours now? I don't even know, I lose track. Anyways, from a telecast, and so they don't get to dive in and understand these women's backgrounds and how dynamic they are. I mean, of course they're beautiful, but they're beautiful inside too. Do you think that there's a missed opportunity there to get to know these women a little bit more?
Yeah, and I did see, especially this year, that this year with the Miss USA pageant, when it was taken off NBC, that there was a ton of commentary from women talking about how Miss USA is irrelevant now because of the focus on beauty. And I do think that there's a missed opportunity, but I can also see how they would think that when during the pageant all they see is a swimsuit competition and an evening gown competition. It can seem a little bit superficial, but really what the pageant is all about is the preparation leading to the pageant. It's what it takes to get there, and that process is grueling, and it takes mental focus, mental toughness, like learning your communication skills, really understanding and knowing who you are and what you believe in, learning how to communicate yourself properly and effectively and eloquently without being divisive, hopefully. I do think that there's going to be some changes. Even last year, I feel like they really tried to focus on the stories of the girls.
They had more freedom since they were on Reels, the cable network, so they could take some more creative liberties.
Exactly.
So tell me what you guys think is the connection between inner and outer beauty.
Well, there's a lot of connection. I think that when you find a strong sense of inner beauty, which I think the pageant absolutely will help you refine, because you figure out the biggest question actually that I was told to ask myself is, who are you? And when you ask yourself, I like this, I like that, you think it's very simple. But when you go through the pageant process and you're really challenging yourself, not only physically but also mentally, not to look at other women as competition, but to pay attention to yourself, not to be too hard on yourself, but also know how to rise to your own occasions of being the best you can be. There's so much that you could figure out about yourself. You find out your weak points, you find out your strengths, and it's a really cool refinement. And I think that defines your inner beauty once you realize how much of yourself you're willing to accept and love and showcase. One thing that I really loved about my first time experiencing a pageant and learning about it was how a lot of times you can be reminded that they can change your gown if it's not what they like. They can change your hair if it's, a little bit off or it's not exactly the best. But they cannot change who you are on the inside. That is your own personal journey. And that's the beauty that a lot of people don't realize in the pageants we look for. And that can be superficially, thought about and just watching a telecast.
Totally. I have to interject for a second because I have a story to go along with what you're saying. So the gown I won Miss Wisconsin in was a prom dress from David's Bridal, like $200. In hindsight, it was way too short. And my mom did my hair and totally oversprayed it. So needless to say, I was not the most polished woman on that stage. But it was Chelsea Cooley-Altman, who was from North Carolina as well, and Miss USA in 2005. She was one of the judges with her partner AT. And they're like, there's something about this girl. There's like this light that's shining. We like her. And they really believed in me. And
you're talking about the light shining through, and for you, it coming from the heart. I have actually written a book. It's called The Sparkle Effect. And it's defining what that quality is, because I feel like people talk about it. They talk about the it factor, but no one has ever really defined what that it factor is. I think that girls or people in general are just left to turn it on or fake it until they make it. And I think that it factor or the sparkle effect takes, like, it's the years before you get to that place that manifests that presence in that sparkle, because it's perseverance and it's strength and it's not compromising and it's deciding to rise and it's staying true to yourself, it's setting standards, it's all of those qualities, and choosing not to be jaded in rejection, and choosing to maintain wonder and thankfulness, even through trials and tribulations and things that you go through. And I think that's really what what cultivates that sparkle or that shine and that light that y'all were able to bring to the stage. And I think it crosses all areas of life, not just stepping on a stage to compete in a pageant, but in a job interview and in applying for college or dating or finding the love of your life, whatever it is. It's all of those qualities on the inside that really count. And I think that's the connection between outer and inner beauty, because the outer beauty might open the door, but it's the inner beauty that leads to empowering or restoration or healing, or the impact that you can make on somebody with that.
Yeah, that's really well said. And I think that's why a lot of pageant girls end up doing so well and are so successful in other areas of their life, because it's so transferable. Like you said, if you have that sparkle effect, as you call it, like that's going to serve you so well also in your career. So how do you guys think that your pageant experience and everything that led up to it has really helped you guys in your career?
Oh, there's so many ways that it's helped me in my career. I remember I was in an interview, and there were thousands of girls that were interviewed, and then it came down to 50, then it came down to 6. But upon that minimizing of the selection, they ended up having us come in for an interview with the CEO and the president of the company that we'd be working for. And when we went in for that interview, it was just the same as what we would do in a competition for a crown or a pageant. And I really loved what I had learned and was able to bring to the table. But the biggest thing that I was able to learn from this pageant experience, and a lot of people don't realize, is surrender. And that will apply to every aspect of your life, just like what Kristen was saying about, you know, your relationships, your jobs, your anything. It could be love, it could be family. If you're surrendered and you learn how to just live and bloom with who you are, it will absolutely transfer into every aspect of what you're doing and what you're passionate about. I ended up being selected as one of the 6, and it was a wonderful experience for me, because I went home and I told my younger sister and some of the women that I helped kind of train, hey, you know, the pageant is not just for getting a crown and a sash and then representing what, you know, whatever you're passionate about representing, but it's also going to carry into the other aspects of your life. So you win no matter what.
One of the most important things is something I mentioned earlier is no matter what area of life you're in, there's other people who are vying for the same dream that you have. Right. And it's so easy to get caught up in comparing yourself to other people, especially with the rise of social media and followers and what people are posting and whatever. And so I think that comparing yourself really is the thief of joy and even hope, because you can think like, this person is so far along, how could I ever even compete with that? And so you just take yourself out and you sabotage. And so I would say that the biggest thing that has really helped me is learning to focus, to stay like laser focused, and not to be excited and to be happy for other people's excitement, or for their achievements or their accolades. Because when you see other people succeeding, like even I think that your story is such an awesome inspirational example. You not making the top 15 at Miss USA your year, but then 6 years later, you were really redeemed in being able to come back and host the Miss USA pageant.
Yeah, that was like one of the coolest full circle moments in my life ever.
I mean, that is such an incredible example. And I think
everyone's on their own path. I think that's the point, is like, if you focus on your own unique path and just trust and surrender, everything unfolds the way it's supposed to. Because in that moment in 2009, like, of course I wanted to win. Who doesn't want to be Miss USA, you know? And so in that moment, it's heartbreaking when you don't even make the top 15 because you work so hard. Right. But then it starts to make sense. Like, oh yeah, I was supposed to go here next, which led to here. And then ultimately 6 years later, I'm hosting the competition. So it all works out.
In the same sense though, I think that people could have seen you hosting the Miss USA pageant and have gotten jealous, or have been like, well, why wasn't that me? How did she get that? Why is she the lucky one? And instead, I think, it's so much more powerful and true to look at your example and be excited and be like, wow, what an awesome redemption story. If her life is being redeemed like that, then mine can be too.
Tell me about sheismore.com and what led you to creating that.
Oh, thanks for bringing it up. Well, really it all stemmed from just my own personal journey and story. I wanted to be Miss USA since I was a little girl. I loved Disney princesses and fairy tales and storybooks, and I believed in happy endings. And I watched Miss USA pageant, Miss Universe, Miss America every single year since I was 3, and she was my role model.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about celebrities or Hollywood stars at all, but I would be starstruck by Miss USA or by Miss North Carolina. Like, oh my gosh. So I started working to become Miss USA since I was like literally 13 years old. It's crazy, 9 years before I even stepped foot on stage. And I won, but what I realized is that like winning, that what I thought would be this defining moment or this crown of validation, it didn't complete me, and it didn't fill me up like I thought it would. And actually it just led me to compare myself more, and it took me to this new level of just comparing myself and self-doubt. And I felt like I really didn't know myself, because I realized I developed this formula for my life that said my performance plus other people's approval equals my happiness or validation. And that formula is so dangerous, because oh my gosh,
you'll never win.
You're never gonna win.
Never gonna win.
After I moved to LA, after I was Miss USA, someone said to me, they were like, Kristen, don't you know that you are a daughter of the King? And that statement totally changed my life. It was a complete paradigm shift for me, because I was like, what? I'm a daughter of the King. That means I'm royalty. That means that no one can give or take away a crown. That means I always and already am crowned in the Spirit all the time. And that means instead of operating from a place of for victory, I can operate from victory. And so I'm just like, wow, what a powerful place. I wish I would have known that my whole life, And so I really want like every woman to know that, because I think when you know your identity and you know that your worth is priceless and invaluable, it's more precious than rare jewels. There's a verse in the Bible in Proverbs 3:15 that says she is more precious than rare jewels, which is where the website comes from. She is more. Wow. And so I feel like when a woman just really knows her identity and her worth, then everything else falls into place. It all starts in knowing your identity, so you don't compromise, and so you don't seek approval from other people. You don't people please. You all of the things that can just be really bad for you and lead to depression and self-doubt and insecurity and things that just control your life and takes from your life what you're meant to have, which is fullness and joy and just abundance and peace. So
that's beautiful. I love everything that you just said, but something that's really, really standing out that I think so many people can relate to is this thought process of, I'll be happy when this happens. Yeah. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when I have kids. I'll be happy when I have the Miss USA crown. Whatever it is in your individual life. But then I think so often people get that thing and they're like, oh no, I'm not. Like now it's the next thing that will make me happy. But it's like, no, happiness is within yourself and is that spirit within.
Yeah. It's always going to be the next thing. It's never going to stop. But you don't have to vie after it, because it's going to come to you, because it is yours. You just have to do what you're purposed to do. And when you get so caught up in all of the negative and the self-doubt, all the things that Kristen was saying, it can take a toll on you, and then you lose sight of how big and beautiful the world is going to offer you these things that you don't even have to worry about. You don't have to think, what's next? It will just come, because what's meant for you is meant for you.
And I think that it becomes about making it about like what you're doing and you becoming successful and other people seeing it. Yeah. But instead, if it's just like, look, you have been given a purpose and you have a message, you have a destiny, just enjoy the process and trust the results to God.
Yeah.
It's like a roller coaster. Yeah.
Well, since you both are ladies of faith, what do you think is the balance between fate and things happening according to plan, but also your own effort and putting in the hard work?
I love that you just asked that.
Yeah, me too.
Because I'm really curious. I want to know the recipe.
I can sum it up in one sentence. Okay. And that is, pray like it's up to God, but work like it's up to you.
Ooh. Because I have my equation to life, and I actually use this when they ask me, you know, what's advice that you would give to young girls or people in a pageant question they ask me on stage. But I use it in my own life, and it just dawned on me one day years ago, and I live by it, and it's faith plus effort equals success. You have the faith first, and you believe in something that you cannot see or that you do not necessarily know is absolutely there, but you have the belief that it is. You don't have that tangible, you know, sight or touch of it. But the faith is the power, and then you have the effort, which is your movement. So you're not just getting puppeted around. It's that movement that you have, that desire and that perseverance.
Yeah.
And with that effort, you will always be successful. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. It will always be success.
Yeah, there's also a verse that sums it up too. It says, faith without works is dead. So you can believe it and pray it and talk about it and read it, but if you don't do something about it, then
you do have to work.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about it. You do have to
we
work.
got to partner with God. We are co-creators with God.
Let's talk about the top 5 question, because it often goes viral, and I have so much compassion for those women, and I'm secretively kind of happy I never had to answer myself that top 5 question. So you'll have to give us some perspective on what it's like to be on that side. But I was, of course, holding the microphone when a couple questions happened last year that went viral, and I think what people don't realize is how nervous these girls are. Like, standing right next to these girls, I mean, you could see them shaking, and they're terrified, and they're answering these, you know, politically charged questions. Do you think we need to give these girls more grace?
Oh, here we go.
Kristen's like, I like honesty. You guys have permission to be honest.
Well, I do think that we should always give people grace, because we are human, and it is true that in that moment, wow, like there are all kinds of crazy things going on inside of you. Chemicals being released in your brain, adrenaline's rushing, like your brain can completely feel like it's going to stop. But I also feel like that is a moment that you have months to prepare for, that you're fully aware of. There's a lot of YouTube videos that you can watch in advance to prepare yourself, and there are mental coaches to prepare you for that kind of pressure.
So is that what you think it is the pressure gets to them?
I think it's the pressure plus knowing what your opinions are. And even if you don't have an opinion on a subject, being able to listen to how you feel and answering with that clearly and concisely.
Instinct.
Yeah, answering with that instinct and just honoring that. Because I will be honest, like in my top 5 question, I didn't know. I didn't really have an opinion because I didn't really know much about the topic. But I had worked with Don Baker, who's, you know, a huge communications, mental toughness coach. And he teaches you how to handle moments like that, how to listen to the audience, and to pay attention to the first picture that comes in your head and to how you're feeling, and to answer head on, to honor that.
So you can at least be proud of how you're answering, even if it's not a very informed
Well, he
answer.
says that once you start thinking, then you die. Because when you think, you become inward and closed. And the whole point of a great communicator is someone who is open and outward, and they're connecting with the host, and they're connecting with the audience, and they're connected with themselves. Moments leading up to that you're telling yourself, I'm prepared for anything, I'm already Miss USA, this is just a press conference. And that's what I was telling myself, thank God, because you could totally psych yourself out. And that might be even something too. I know for Katie Upton, South Carolina at Teen USA, I think 2006 her year was, she was telling herself those things before she got called up for her final answer. She was scared. She was freaking herself out. She was like, oh my gosh, this moment is defining everything. What if I mess up? What if I mess up? What if I mess up? And I think those thoughts will mess you up, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
So moral of the story is be prepared.
Be prepared. Come on.
Do your homework. What's your take on it?
I definitely think that grace is necessary in all aspects of life. I mean, sometimes the pageant women will get questions that some of our politicians and public figures can't even answer. So it can be difficult. So there are going to be times where you're like, whoa, that is a tough question. But it's about mind over matter. You know, you cannot let your mental thought process get clouded with wanting to impress people or wanting to say the right thing. Once it becomes that, you're absolutely set up to maybe stumble, jibber jabber, and not know exactly what's going on, or maybe not be listening effectively and then answer incorrectly. So there's going to be grace in certain situations where, you know, what should we do to fix the world? And you're like, man, if we all knew that answer, we'd be doing it right now, you know. But you can speak from a place of what you think is best from your heart and your purpose and what you can do as an individual.
So for any woman watching this who feels like they're not a good communicator, I think the hope is that you have that within you. Every woman has that within them,
Totally.
that they can communicate well. You just may not have gotten there yet. So we can encourage them to just keep doing the work.
Yeah.
I would say just take the pressure off of trying to please people. Like she said, know who you are and honor that. I think that when you are open and fearless and being yourself and expressing what's true for you, then it kind of releases other people to do the same.
Yeah.
You know,
Gives
it's
them
like
permission.
when you're transparent or when you're honest, then other people they don't feel so crazy, you know, and it gives them permission to release too.
Cool. You guys are so smart.
We see it in a lot of different aspects of the world. A lot of people supporting people who are saying outrageous things. Even now, you know, there's politics that go on, and you'll say, well, how is that person supported? And they're saying the most outrageous things, because sometimes, you know, it's the people who stand so boldly in what they believe and what they want to say that the silent people will be more open in supporting that, or whatever it is. Not everybody, you know, will say the right things or say everything that's agreed by everyone. Nobody can. But I think at the end of the day, that openness is so necessary.
Yeah, I think people are attracted to authenticity at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So even if you don't agree with somebody, by them just being themselves, there's something endearing about that. Another thing I wanted to talk about was, I feel like there's this big trend and push in our society to have a more inclusive beauty, to celebrate more shapes and sizes. In pageants, that's not always the case. Do you think that pageantry should follow that trend?
I think that pageants absolutely do support women of all types and all shapes, and it may seem that way because what we see on stage is a bunch of really thin, fit, amazing, you know, beautiful women in the pageant. But I think that as you watch the steps of getting to that, you know, that point, you see women of all shapes and sizes that end up challenging themselves so much as far as being the best that they can be, that they end up becoming this like amazingly fit. You're like, whoa, her transformation is beautiful. As long as she's doing it in a healthy way, of course.
Right.
But you see these women going through this transformation and challenging themselves. And I competed with Miss Puerto Rico, who was, I think, 60 pounds heavier before her transformation. And her story was about how she challenged herself to go after something and say, I need to be the best I can be, and I want to be as healthy as possible. So some women will have big hips and some women will have narrow hips, and you'll be looking at each other going, wow, I wish I had, you know, and you have to remind yourself, I'm beautiful as I am. And I find that pageants support that. I think that it's us as women wanting to be perfect. I mean, we see it in society, even women outside of pageants on social media and Instagram wanting to contour and do exactly what so-and-so does and injecting, and you're just like, gosh, you're so beautiful with or without it. And you'll see that in the pageant. And that's one of the most beautiful things about competing internationally, because in Latin America, hips are in. And, you know, in other countries, it is like, no, they want to be fair-skinned or dark-skinned. It's beauty in all different parts of the world. And that was one of my favorite things to see. And I think they do support it. It's just about being the best you can be in that realm.
I think that is, everything that she's saying is exactly
You're like,
true.
copy that, second that.
Copy that. Because, and add that, you know, women who compete are women who are drawn to wanting to be the best version of themselves, or they want maybe a reason or a motivation to get fit or to get healthy. And it's just as long as you're doing it in a healthy way, that you don't ruin your body and ruin your metabolism. Because that can happen too, which is really sad. But
I think overall, most women take a very healthy route. In fact, I don't think I was ever healthier.
I know.
Totally. But now I just don't have like nearly as much discipline. But
right? Because we don't have a motivation.
Yes.
exactly.
But I felt so good, and ultimately, I think if you feel good, you look good. One of my good friends, who's a fitness trainer, says that, and I never felt so good in my own body. In hindsight, I think I was way too skinny, but like I was in my best healthy state, right? And that's how it happened to manifest, and it manifests differently for everyone. For some women, and if they're in their healthiest, fittest state, they're going to be more curvy. It definitely varies. So
I
had muscle then.
So you guys have probably heard about Ashley Graham. She's the plus size model, was the first plus size model to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I think she's gorgeous, and she, from what I know, she has a really healthy lifestyle, so that's what her healthiest looks like. Do you think someone like that could ever make the top 15 at Miss USA?
I really do, because going back to what we were talking about earlier about the sparkle effect and having that shine, I really do think it comes down to that. I think that as long as you go with your personal best, it comes down to connecting with the judges and really sparkling.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if that is her being as healthy as, it's her challenging herself to be the best in a competition, and that's exactly how she looks, she should stand in confidence of that and not have to worry or fear that she needs to look like anyone else. Because once she goes into this idea of comparison to other people and not within herself and her best, then that's where she is no longer able to make that placement in the confidence and the beauty of who she is, regardless of what the judges say. It's not always about what the judges want, because they may be thinking, oh, my Miss USA is blonde, blue-eyed, and then they may look at somebody and be, oh, everyone has their own idea. So it's what it comes down to is that beauty inside. And Ashley Graham could absolutely, I think, in my opinion, if I were a judge, if I saw her as beautiful and she challenged herself to the occasion, I'd say go for it. Why not get the points for that?
I agree. I love Ashley Graham.
She's beautiful. I admire her. I'm like, wow, she's modeling a lot harder than I am in some cases. I know. And we're totally two different sizes, so who cares?
And she's got that confidence that's magnetic, and that's appealing, and she's approachable, and she's likable, and I think that's really what it comes down to.
Totally. Okay, lastly, what is your definition of empowerment?
Knowing your purpose, being able to be patient with yourself, and to express that purpose and let others be inspired by it and contribute to you by you being who you are.
Empowerment is looking at someone and seeing their potential and helping them unleash it by giving them hope outside of their current circumstances, showing them what's possible, and giving them the resources and the tools and the words, the encouragement, the information to do that.
That's so beautiful. You ladies are both so empowered, and I've so enjoyed chatting with you guys.
Likewise.
You too.
Thank you. And let us know what your definition of empowerment is by using hashtag Empowerista, and we'll show you some social media love.